Welcome to Maximal Being,
a podcast devoted to ditching fad diets and using real science to get you healthy and feeling great.
I'm Doc Mock, a GI and functional medicine doctor who harnesses the power of gut health to get you achieving your goals.
And I'm Jacky P, a well-informed layman who challenges the experts and asks the questions that you want.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button or leave a comment.
And now, on to the show. You talked about like the rules we make for ourselves, right? Like calorie deprivation, right? Like I think that's the biggest, most common thing we see in today's dieting world, right? A lot of folks still in that school of thought, hey, less in, less out. And, I'm going to start losing weight, right? Especially, still work out and still exercise, right? But, Doc Mock, I know you had, a very personal experience of calorie deprivation and trying to lose weight. And, it didn't really work out that well, right?
Yeah. In my own personal experience, what you're talking about is when I was doing cardio, right? And pretty much everybody out there right now is listening to this on a treadmill, listening to this on their elliptical, on their bike, a lot of popular bike companies right now. And they're probably under eating calories. And I went through a similar thing, I want to say about 12 years ago at this point, where I was running 8 miles every other day. I was eating about 1,200 calories a day. And I actually am going through this exact thing with a client where, he is a muscular guy. He weighs about 180 pounds and he's 5'6". And he, according to a very popular app, it was telling him to eat 1,200 calories a day. By no means should he eat that, especially if he's working out 5 days a week. And so it's very important to determine, what your actual calorie intake should be based upon your activity level, height, weight, sex, and age. But also there's more out there. It's quality too. It's not just a addition subtraction equation. It's more of a logarithmic calculation and very complex.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I think. And we spend a lot of time rather than just being in a calorie deficit, although the research does show that a small calorie deficit works for people, just working on integrating some quality foods in people. Just eat a vegetable, right? If you're just eating processed foods all the day, every day, try to implement some vegetables. And you'll find that if that takes up more space on your plate, you'll be full from the fiber. It'll improve your microbiome. And therefore you will
crowds out the unhealthy foods.
Exactly. Yeah. But physiologically speaking, when you're in calorie deficit and it's too extreme, a lot of things happen in your body, right? So you're upregulating a lot of your stress response hormones, and things like cortisol get released from your adrenal glands. And we all know that prolonged exposure to cortisol leads to truncal obesity. So you gain fat around your middle.
Could you say that again? That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So when we're dieting, we're upregulating the cortisol response.
Right. So when you're in deficit, your body is in survival mode, right? Your sympathetic nervous system does upregulate in a lot of starvation sort of states. And so that also leads to a stress response, which releases cortisol, which is counteracting the effect that you're trying to reach, which is weight loss, right? Quote unquote weight loss. You're retaining water and you're gaining fat around the middle. You're losing muscle mass on your arms and legs. And so that's why people look like that, lemon on a stick sort of appearance. So, I think rather than just putting people into an extreme calorie deficit, like you said, a small calorie deficit can work, or talking about more the quality aspect than the quantity.
And what do you think about periodically taking breaks from weight loss, like not trying to charge all the way through, but to take a couple of weeks off every now and then? I work with people who might have 200 pounds to lose. And so I've kind of tripped over the idea, which seems to work, that when they start to have had enough of dieting, we take a break for a little while. We work it out so they just don't gain weight. Yeah. And that seems to refuel them. And
yeah, Jacky, feel free to interject here too. But we did a deep dive. I want to say about 6 months ago with another psychologist that we're talking to about the concept of the rest day or the cheat day, right, or the cheat meal. And And then looking at all of the research that exists in psychology journals, what we found was that I know that you were against that 90-10 sort of percentage, but giving somebody a little bit of a break here and there from a psychological standpoint with up to 2-year follow-up in the studies does lead to more sustained.
I'm not against the percentage.
Yeah.
I'm against doing it as a guideline without articulating what the 10% is. So if you want to only have chocolate on 10% of the time, you say, I'll only ever eat chocolate the last 3 days of the calendar month. That'll be 10% of the time. And that way you don't have to make decisions. But I think the percentage 90-10 is a good percentage.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying.
Can I ask you another medical question, or am I flipping the role too much on you?
Oh, I love medical questions.
So something else that's really interesting that I found was that we have a lot of experience with people who would get on a plan, and after about, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 days, and it was a very regular period for each of them, they would break. And then I actually had a medical doctor as one of my clients, and she said, well, what happens is that you deplete the glycogen in your muscles when you begin to go into a deficit. And when you run out of glycogen in the muscles, then you have to switch over to burning fat, and the body might cry out for food when that's the case. What do you think about that?
So you have a very limited storage of glycogen in your muscles. In fact, you run out of majority of it if you do some sort of moderate intensity exercise for up to 60 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
On the flip side, it is exceptionally easy to replete your glycogen stores in your muscle. All it takes is one meal with a very small amount of carbohydrate, as small as about 30 grams. Right?
Okay.
So that's like half a sweet potato.
Okay.
And boom, you're back in action. If you're in calorie deficit and exercising with voracity, and the next day feel like you're dragging, like you're hungover, like you're tired or exceptionally hungry, it is probably because you did not replete those glycogen stores.
Interesting.
But I would add a caveat to that, being a nerdy GI doctor. It's that you also have a tremendous amount of storage of glycogen in an organ called the liver, right? The liver is just a haven for glycogen. And so when you run out of muscle glycogen, you can utilize some glycogen in the liver. And your body does this interesting thing when you have an excess of glycogen in the form of stored carbohydrate. It'll make it a more energy efficient particle, which is fat. And so you have pathways within the liver that can convert glycogen into fat, both in the liver and deposit also around your middle. So I would say that there's an additional step there to what your colleague said, and it's that, the liver acts as that gateway between fat around the middle and glycogen in the muscle.
So is there any veracity to the 5 to 10 day period, or that seems just like something that's spurious that she's perceiving?
I think that that's one part of it, but we've also talked extensively on our fasting podcast in that, your hunger and satiety hormones, right? Ghrelin downregulates around that time, right? Around 7 to 8 days is where you're reaching that kind of steady state and alleviate, and you're purely at a physiologic point where hunger is, your body's actual need for those calories versus it being psychological, which it is most of the time.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you for letting me flip the tables. I get to talk to all these interesting people. I like to ask questions sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that was cool. I learned a lot. And also, I'd like to commend both of you for staying in the layman terms and not going too high into the medical jargon. Congratulations to both of you.
Thanks. we have you here to keep us honest, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I do say, Doc Mock, I believe we might be overdue for a commercial break. So we're going to take a quick pause right here. And in Maximal Beings, we'll be right back.
What's going on, Maximal Beings? It's Doc Mock here. Many of you are returning to the gym now, but some are not going back. Regardless of what you plan, Rogue has got the right gear to fit your needs. I personally own a barbell set and love it. The Black Ops shorts are sweat resistant and flexible for getting deep in your squats. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/rogue for our referral link. Order 3 items and they ship for free. And as usual, it's Doc Mock, and I'm here to maximize your pathway to wellness. If you're stuck at home and cannot make it to the grocery store, delivery may be the best way to stay clean and healthy. Instacart is the national leader in the direct-to-home delivery service. With numerous major chains and food from smaller stores, you can get those local veggies sent directly to your doorstep. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/Instacart and maximize your nutrition today.
Hello, Maximal Beings. We are back. We are here chatting about dieting and the psychology behind eating well, stress eating, right? Binge eating, right? And why it's so prevalent. Doc Mock had the table flipped on him by Glenn here when Glenn was shooting the questions out, which I actually kind of enjoyed. I'm not going to lie. But it's my turn for questions,
Okay.
Dr. Glenn.
Okay. Bring it on.
I've got 3. I might have 4, maybe 5, but for sure I have minimum 3. So the first is, what is your favorite exercise?
Hot yoga. It would have been different if you asked me a couple of years ago, but I've been doing vinyasa yoga every day in a hot studio, and it really goes along with the teaching myself to activate the parasympathetic system and get into that calmer state. And it, tones my muscles. And I had a bad car accident 25 years ago, so there are all sorts of aches and pains that are going away. So that's my favorite exercise. I go every day.
All right. Okay. Good. Hot yoga. I don't think we've had that one yet, Doc Mock.
No, my wife was like an avid hot yoga person. Absolutely loved it. I would just add like one little doctor tip that we found and do a little digging does help people is make sure you replete your electrolytes.
Oh.
And I'm not talking sports drinks by any means.
No, I know.
But trace minerals or something,
bananas and leafy greens and things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of magnesium and sodium and potassium deficits in people that do hot yoga for an extended period of time.
Really?
You've ever gotten those muscle twitches or twinges?
I've evolved to a diet that I have ridiculous volumes of vegetables and fruits, and sometimes I'll be checking out at the supermarket and they'll ask me if a gorilla lives with me. But I'll pay more careful attention to the timing of that and make sure that it's afterwards. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
All right, and I'm gonna preface this. It can't be something you have directly written or contributed to, Glenn. What is your favorite health book, and why?
I used to get bronchitis all the time, and I eventually read a book by Dr. Joel Fuhrman called Super Immunity, which was about the immune-enhancing effects of greens and beans and onions and mushrooms and berries and seeds. And he essentially went over all the science and said you should just try to get some of that every day. And I stopped getting bronchitis after I did that. It also corresponded with when I stopped having, dairy and wheat and things like that. So there were a number of different things. I don't know, you can say it was 100% causative, but I love the book and made a big difference to me.
Okay. I think with this first one for that one too, I think Doc Mock. And this one might be interesting just because of what you do and your story. But what is the craziest diet that you have been on or heard of?
That I've been on, I've heard of every diet out there.
Yeah.
I don't believe we are designed to eat only meat. There are some people who believe we're designed to only eat meat, and I think our digestive systems would not be set up so long and everything and we would be able to produce our own vitamin C and things like that if we weren't supposed to have some fruits and vegetables. So I'm going to say the carnivore diet is the craziest diet that I've ever heard of. And I was dating a woman who was gravitating towards that, and it drove me crazy.
Okay. Doc Mock, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think for certain people, they're designed slightly different. I have had luck with certain patients in alleviating their GI illnesses by shifting to a carnivore diet. But
really?
But yeah, and And it's not a true eat all meat all the time. We do implement, leafy greens and different vegetables with a lot of color and a lot of shapes. I think that, the rabbit starvation concept, right? Which, allow me to digress a little bit here, Jacky P, if that's okay.
Do your thing. Do your thing.
There's a cycle in your body called the Krebs cycle, and within that, you're turning amino acids into other stuff. And there's a rate limiting step within that. If you don't have a substrate to add to it, which you can get either from eating carbohydrate or eating fat. And so if you're only eating protein all the time, your body will go into this mode where it will kind of cannibalize itself, and it can be life-threatening. People do go into kind of a shock state. And so, having some sort of carbohydrate with your meat or some sort of fat within the meat is a necessity on that diet. Otherwise, it is truly dangerous.
I mean, I work with clients. My program is diet agnostic. Our strength is helping people to stick to it as long as it's reasonable and they've got a doctor's blessing. Then we can do that. So I've been exposed to. I work with a lot of people who do low carb but not no carb, and they seem to do fine. I work with a lot of people who do whole foods plant-based. They seem to do fine. When people get too extreme in one direction, it seems like they're not able to sustain it.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point, which is that there is an individual component to it, right? It's our genetics, it's our family and evolutionary background. It's the foods that we were exposed to when we were a kid presently that influence our microbiome. All of those things together are what leads to the diet that works best for that one individual. It's not a one size fits all.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I dare say, and Glenn, you have a marketing background, right? The carnivore diet literally sounds like you're a T-Rex. You're just eating the goat every day, right? You're just eating animals all day. So I think, I thought the carnivore diet was just meat too, but I guess there's a balance, right?
Paleo, keto, vegan, and carnivore. Maybe you've tried them all, but did you have success? Are you still doing that diet? Turns out there's not just one diet right for one particular person. By understanding how your body works and the relationship behind your body's workings and these diets, you can then approach the perfect plan for you. In the Perfect Human Diet course, we talk to you about your body's inner workings and the pros and cons of each plan. We discuss how our ancestors ate and have eaten, and lay a framework to tailoring a plan that is perfect for you. To learn more about the Perfect Human Diet course, head to maximalbeing.com/courses to find out more. And as always, I'm Doc Mock, and I'm here to maximize your health. You cannot supplement your way to health, but there are things that we need to add to our lives that can maximize our pathway to wellness. The American diet is virtually devoid of omega-3 fatty acids, which play a major role in cardiovascular disease, gut permeability, and mental health. Personally, I take omega-3s every night, and iHerb is the best place for clean, natural sources of supplements. I love the ZenWise omega-3 fatty acid supplement, which is free of fish burps and good for the environment. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/iHerb, that's IHERB, and enter the code B as in boy, D as in dog, B as in boy, 5528, and receive 10% off your orders for all supplements. Maximize your supplements with iHerb.
Glenn, I do have a fourth question, perhaps a fifth, actually, if there's time.
Sure.
In the little briefing, I saw something, and then I don't know if we have enough time for it, so it might have to be a quick and dirty minute 30. But there was something that said in an interview. I said how to stop eating chocolate before you kill someone, and I don't know how much you need to unpack that, but I felt like that was something that needed to be addressed.
Well, it's actually fairly easy to address because we laid the foundation. Overeating is a survival drive gone wrong. And it's a overactivation of that emergency response system that says you really better eat something now because your life is at stake. It really is that serious. And that's why all your best thinking goes out the window. And so we're joking around when we say, just hand over the chocolate and nobody gets hurt. But it really does feel like a matter of life and death. And this is why people keep saying, I don't know why I do this. I don't know why. Well, it's because you're of two minds. You have your mind, and then you have the emergency response system's mind, the reptilian brain's mind, the pig's mind. And you need to accept that that's going to happen sometimes and prepare to defend yourself against it. So, that's the answer there. That's the answer there, that it's a survival drive gone wrong, and it really does feel like an emergency.
Okay, well, you knocked that out one pretty quick. Now I have another one for you. You talked about a little bit, you said, and always spoke about, eating disorders are a different animal, right? Folks who, there's definitely something different than, like, myself, who I am, everyone knows me as a cookie monster. I fight sugar all the time. I have an inner pig, and, everyone knows about me, and, and I could talk about my origin story of an entire case of Oreos every day or every year on my birthday, no problem. You alluded to in your bio, like an alternative controversial approach to eating disorders. And if there was time, if it's not,
what's controversial about this is most people think they should eat when they're hungry and stop when they're full and learn to be more mindful. And those are all good ideas in theory. In fact, I would encourage everybody to do that to the extent that it's possible. But we don't really live in a world where it's possible to be mindful all the time about food. We're constantly being impinged upon by screens and social media and decision makers and having to take the kids to soccer and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not possible to be mindful all the time. The problem with eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full is that there are billions of dollars in industry and advertising geared to break your hungry and full meters. I mean, if it was 100,000 years ago on the savannah, I don't think we would have such a thing as an eating disorder. I don't think Fag was sitting around saying, oh my God, I ate too much mammoth. I think that people were naturally mindful and intuitive, and they could eat when they're hungry and stop when they're full. I find that clients need some type of external control, like external objective measures to tell them what's too much and when to eat for 4 to 6 months until they get a lot of the junk out of the system. Doc Mock was talking a lot about down-regulating and up-regulating. What happens when you eat a lot of industrial food? If you have a chocolate bar every day, your pleasure system down-regulates so that after a month or so, the natural sugars in an apple or even a piece of lettuce, they no longer taste good. And that's why people say they just don't like fruit and vegetables. It's because they're so overstimulated that they feel like they're unable to get pleasure from anything but the supersized stimuli. If you get a lot of that out of your diet, then you've got the ability to enjoy all of these, what nature has to offer, and your system will upregulate, and you'll be able to be more mindful. And some people use my system to get control, and they keep control for maybe 6 months to a year, and then they slowly back off the rules and try to replace them with more mindful things. You can also use this system to implement mindful rules. Like, I'll always put my fork down between bites. I will never eat in front of a TV again, right? I won't ever eat in the car. I'll always take 5 deep breaths before my meal. You can create mindfulness supporting rules that don't take away anything. I think it's also important to understand that we are presenting the rules to our pigs as if they were 2-year-old children, because that's about what they are when it comes to food. And when my niece was 2 years old, I told her she could never cross the street without holding my hand. Never, ever, ever. But I was lying to her because I knew in 5 or 6 years, my sister would teach her how to do it. But I lied to her anyway because it was in her best interest, and it's in our best interest to lie to our pigs. We present the rules as if they're set in stone, but as you gain experience and you learn more about nutrition and you experiment with things, you're going to want to change the rules. What you want to do is just change them with forethought and consideration, do it in writing, give yourself a 24-hour delay before you change it, so that you know that it's not the pig doing something impulsively. And that's right.
You tell that pig what to do. I'm not talking to you, Glenn. I'm talking to the people listening.
That's right.
You want to be the alpha wolf of your own mind. And when an alpha wolf is challenged for leadership, it doesn't go, oh my goodness, someone needs a hug. This is not a nurture your inner wounded child thing. This is a game of ruthless domination. You tell that thing, get back in line or I'll kill you.
Yeah. Go for the juggler. I'll make some bacon out of you, inner pig. All right. All right. Well, listen, I'm out of questions. Doc Mock, any last insightful words of our wonderful discussion today?
Yeah, for those of you out there starting a new year right, be nice to yourselves, make healthy, sustainable choices. Rome was not built in a day. Eat real food, eat enough food. And if you can pronounce it and you don't need an advanced biochemistry degree, put it in your body. But if you cannot, that food is not for you.
It's not really food, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you heard it right from the expert here. He's worked for the other side, which I feel like we could have you back just to talk about your experiences working for.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, the more people gravitate towards healthy, natural foods and away from industrial foods, the better they do. And, I'm not telling everybody they got to give up this or give up that, but as a general principle, as you gravitate in that direction, it's easier to stop overeating. Can I tell them where they can get a free copy of the book? Would that be okay?
Absolutely. Yeah. Where can they find you on the web?
3 things you will get if you go to neverbingeagain.com and click the big red button. The first one is a free copy of the book in Kindle, Nook, or PDF format. We do have paperback and Audible, but there's a charge for those. The second thing is a set of food plan starter templates. So we created a whole set of potential rules, which you'll modify for your own needs. And there's one for just about any dietary philosophy you might have. So whether it's, keto or point counting or calorie counting or vegan or whatever it happens to be, we've tried to put some rules together. The last one might be the most important. I know this is a weird ass interview. You're saying, why do you have a psychologist here who's got a pig inside of him? What's going on? I know it sounds harsh in the abstract. So I recorded a bunch of full-length coaching sessions. It's all free. And I want you to hear how we take people from feeling powerless and confused and hopeless and despairing about ever getting their eating under control to feeling hopeful and enthusiastic and powerful in just one session. So neverbingeagain.com, click the big red button and sign up for the reader bonus list.
Thank you so much, Glenn, for that. I know our listeners are just going to eat that up, no pun intended.
Well,
okay.
I think we're here. I think we're done. We've been speaking with Dr. Glenn Livingston. I'm full government because we're signing off, right? Never Binge Again. Check out his website. And of course, I've been chatting with the most co-hostess with the mostest, of course, now further away from me in Florida. And I am Jacky P. Doc Mock, tell everyone where they can find us and how to get in touch with us.
Yeah, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. And if you have any questions for us or any of our wonderful guests, email us at team@maximalbeing.com. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/courses. Our kombucha course is a great way to start the new year and make your microbiome a happy one. If you have any questions for us, you can get a lot of free information there as well. As always, I'm Doc Mock. I'm here with Jacky P and Dr. Glenn Livingston, and we are here to maximize your health.
Just have to say this was really informative. I enjoyed this.
Oh, it's such fun to have you here.
It was good. Good times.
What's going on, Maximal Beings? Doc Mock here. If you haven't done so already, leave us a comment and hit the subscribe button. Let your friends and family know. That way we can get the word out and continue to bash the bro science.